Productivity Arata. Have you noticed that when you're walking around and you see an ambulance, a police car or a fire truck, the words written on them are spelled backwards? Why is that? The message is specifically oriented so that the words fire, police, ambulance, they can be clearly read by the drivers who are also on the street in front of these vehicles when they look through the rear view mirror. This is for them to give way. Therefore, the message is written in a special way to make it easier to be read when it reflects on the mirror. So for the police or the fire brigade to arrive quickly wherever they need to go to, it is not so important that the pedestrians are able to read that message. The message is aimed at the drivers who are ahead of them. The language has been tailored to a specific audience to meet a specific need. Adapt your communication. So the first question I'll leave you in this video on how to communicate better with people is, what have you been doing to adapt your message so it can be clearly and easily understood by the people you want to communicate with? Do you talk the same way in all situations? Do you use a more technical language when you're dealing with professionals? Do you speak more gently when you are with that insecure person? Do you gulp back your anger when you are with a person who is more rude? First, understand. Only then try to be understood. The tip here is specifically important if your main complaint is that people around you don't understand you. If you don't even make an effort to first try to understand others, you can be absolutely sure that they will not have any interest in trying to understand you. Most people don't even know how to truly listen. They're just quiet, lost in their own thoughts, waiting for the other person to finish talking, so then they can finally start to speak up their minds. If you're just waiting for your turn to speak, and if you're preparing what you're going to say next, you are not listening. If you're only listening with the intent to find gaps in the other person's argument, to be able to talk back, you are not listening. You are not listening when you say, "Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're going through. Let me tell you what you can do in this situation, blah, 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 blah." Then you start to give advice that the other person didn't ask for. You are not listening when you let out the famous, "Okay, but..." Stop projecting your ideas into others. You're just driving people away by acting like that. Don't be annoying. You know what is an annoying person? It's that irritating person on a party, for example, who keeps on talking and talking and talking endlessly and never listens to anybody. And the worst of all is that annoying person who keeps saying the same things over and over. Nobody wants to be close to them. If you don't want to be that kind of annoying person, you must develop a minimum of curiosity. You can ask questions to people, and when they finally start talking, stop everything you're doing and genuinely listen to them. Don't be playing with your mobile phone, don't be thinking what kind of advice you have to offer them. Just pay genuine attention to what is being said. Show interest to know more. Don't be judgmental. Even when the other person is asking your opinion, you can only give a useful opinion after you have fully understood what they are saying. Imagine that you go to a doctor, for example, and they suddenly give you a prescription for some random pills and medicine that without even listening to you, without understanding what your symptoms are. Nobody can prescribe a good treatment before they reach a diagnosis. And this means that you need to improve your listening to be a better communicator. Increase the quality of your listening. And there are 5 ways to listen. You may be ignoring the other person. That is, you're basically not listening to them at all. The next level is to pretend that you're listening. Just saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, okay, sure, absolutely, I agree, yeah." Then you may be selectively listening. Just listening to some parts of the conversation that are of your interest, and whenever the conversation is not interesting, you just let your mind go for very faraway trips, thinking about other things of your own ideas. Then there's also the attentive listening level. In other words, you're paying attention, You're putting energy and concentration to understand the words that are being said, the context, what is not being said, the emotions, the tone. You're really trying to understand the person. And then finally, the fifth level, which very few people achieve, is listening with empathy. And there is far more intense than just using active listening techniques. So see, there is this wrong active listening that is promoted everywhere. It is basically some type of a mechanical repetition in which the person is basically repeating everything that the other person says, like a little bit like a robot. The problem is that it makes sound kind of false. It makes you look like a robot or like a parrot without a true intention of listening to that person. It even sounds a little bit manipulating, like controlling. The empathic listening, on the other hand, it happens when you have the intention, the true intention to understand. So this is not a technique. It is a state of being. It is a philosophy for life. First, you will understand, and then you will try to be understood. If you try to manipulate, you'll fail. If you make the mistake that many people make of searching for manipulation techniques, for mental triggers, or other nonsense to manipulate other people, you're gonna fail. You're shooting yourself in the foot. That may work at first. However, as soon as the other person realizes what's going on, that you're using manipulation techniques, you can be sure that they will shut themselves off immediately. They may never want to have a legit relationship with you again, and they'll always be defensive because now they know that your intention is to manipulate them. So listening first is not a way of manipulating. It is a way of showing respect. The need to be understood is fundamental to humans. The person who decides to communicate with you has got a great need of being understood. And if you ignore that need, and if you begin to throw your ideas on them, things you have to say, your great ideas, your advice, or whatever, you're dealing with a person who hasn't got the necessary elements to be able to truly understand you. This is kindness, and this is empathy. This means that you will first understand that the other person needs to be understood, to be reassured, validated, appreciated. And only after fulfilling that vital need, the two of you will be able to effectively communicate. To be able to better communicate with people, you need to know how to listen. And we have some training material about that in our course on communication that you can check right now using the link arata.se/how to say no. In the course, How to Say No, you will learn different resources to achieve more clarity in your communication.